Today we present artist, animator, musician, and arbiter of spectacle generally, Clyde Petersen. A special welcome, I know we have a couple folks in the house today, I have heard tell, followers of Clyde's here from Bloomington, Indiana. So howdy, Hoosiers. A big thank you to our partners today for making this event possible, the Ann Arbor Film Festival and the Institute for the Humanities and Michigan Radio 91.7 FM. The Ann Arbor Film Festival is fast coming upon us, folks. The festival opens March 26th. The program will be announced online on their website this weekend, aafilmfest.org. So be aware and be prepared. We have Marin and Cameron are out in the lobby. The Ann Arbor Film Festival has an info table, so you can get all of your hot off-the-press information. And they have quite a few opportunities for folks, too. For students, particularly, they have summer internships that you can sign up for. They also are seeking volunteers to volunteer during festival week here at the Michigan Theater, for which you will get some free tickets or passes depending on how much you volunteer. So you should definitely go talk to them about that. And then, of course, there's also membership opportunities where you can get your festival pass and discounts, and they have some special events, member-only events as well. So do visit Marin and Cameron in the lobby. Join us here next Monday for a special event. We will host Sir David Ajay. This is important. Please do take note, as this is a pre-reschedule, as it's earlier by almost a month, 3 weeks, than its original scheduled and published date. So Monday, this coming Monday, February, I can't even think what the date is. I think it's the 25th. February 25th at 6 p.m., also not our normal start time. So February 25th, Monday, 6 p.m., Michigan Theater, David Ajay. Tell your friends, make sure they know, especially if they have any interest in furniture, or design, or architecture, because otherwise they might already be planning for March 18th. But it will be Monday. And then next Thursday, as we do not have our regularly scheduled event here, I have a backup plan for you. You could, if you're missing being at a free talk, go to Philip Tenari on Chinese art and its global context. That will be at 6 p.m. at UMA, or the Museum of Art on State Street in the Helmut Stern Auditorium. So backup plans all around. We'll see you again here for another Penny Stamps event after Monday on March 14th, as we are taking a hiatus for the break. We will have our regular Q&A today in the screening room, so join us directly following. You can ask Clyde questions. Please do turn off your cell phones. And now for some words of introduction to our guest, an artist and animator in her own right, Stamp School professor Heidi Kumau.
Hello, people. It's a great pleasure to introduce Clyde Petersen, whose creative practice spans so many different media and creative modes. One could easily refer to him as a DIY decathlete. His DIY punk rock approach to art making spans, as you heard, filmmaking, documentary and experimental, animations, music videos, large-scale installations, and he plays in at least 2 different bands. He tours his music and films across the U.S. and internationally, Japan, Denmark, Europe, and hosts Boating with Clyde, a digital interview series that takes place in a rowboat on the waters of the Puget Sound. He's also currently developing an experimental animated film about the Seattle gay cruising scene before AIDS, as well as another film that he's shooting on Super 8. Firing on all cylinders doesn't begin to describe it. I first learned about Clyde's autobiographical animated film, Torrey Pines, 2 years ago when I was researching stop-motion artists to invite for my animation class. And Torrey Pines is a stop-motion animated feature about growing up queer with a schizophrenic single mom, and it's meant to be screened with a live punk rock band playing as the soundtrack, which is just, for me, it's like, oh my God, it's amazing. So did you get that? Like a stop motion animated feature that means made from thousands of hand-drawn paper cutouts and puppets that are shot 1 image at a time. That already, like, okay, blow your mind there. But it's also about growing up queer with a mentally ill single parent. So there's just so much, it's so rich. And so when I learned about the piece and about him, I felt like I'd hit the animation jackpot. It's beautiful, it's profound, it's visual, it's accessible, and it's an incredible story that's never really been told. And then the other thing is that the animation and film production world is extremely male-dominated, which not only defines the workplace that work happens in, but it also defines the type of stories that get told and don't get told. And Clyde's work is the perfect antidote to these limitations. Yesterday, he came to my class and he offered the students some wisdom, which I will share with you here, about getting started as an animator and as a musician. He said, "I didn't wait for the venues, museums, or galleries to contact me. I initiated my own national tour." His DIY approach has served him well and is something we can all learn from. Don't wait for the perfect opportunity or invitation to make your art. Make it happen. Please welcome me in welcoming Clyde Petersen.
Hello. How are you doing? Okay, cool. I've never done anything like this before. This is my first PowerPoint. I usually just have some slides and talk to classrooms of like 20 kids. And my roommate was like, "You should make a PowerPoint." And I was like, "I guess it's probably a really good idea." So we're gonna try this out and see just how well this works. But thanks so much for coming. My name's Clyde. I'm from Seattle, Washington. And I've been here a couple times. I've played some shows in Ann Arbor before in my life. And I came here last year and taught an animation class. It was really fun. But I made a kind of presentation like about all the different kinds of art that I make, and you can ask me questions about it later, and we'll just party through it. And you can like relax and enjoy yourself. It's gonna be totally fun. I made this really long title as a kind of a joke. I went to a college in Bellingham, Washington that was a design your own major college, and you like had to have a couple commas and a semicolon in your major title. And I wanted mine to be like film production, and they were like, "You can't, you have to have." So as a reference to that past of mine, I made this very long, heady title. Anyway, moving on. This is me after college. I feel like I'm in a TED Talk right now. It's pretty funny. I was in Kingston, Ontario last week talking to a bunch of animation studio students, and in the other room was TEDx. And there were all these very nervous business students like pacing back and forth, practicing their talks, and all these people running around with X's on their shirts, and I was like, "Whew, that is a really intense experience." Anyway, this is me. I went to college and honestly just smoked a lot of pot and shot stuff on Super 8 film and goofed off, and was into filmmaking. But right after school ended, I was really into punk rock, and I just wanted to go on the road with bands, and so I started being a roadie, and that just means driving, carrying suitcases, drinking really bad gas station coffee, smoking a lot of cigarettes, Tetris, packing vans. So I did that for a really long time, and it was really fun. I played a lot of music, and I traveled the world and learned a lot about the world. I was a very naive young person, and I was instantly thrown into planet Earth and learned so much very quickly. And throughout that work, I met a million artists and a million musicians. It was from 1999, 2000 till now. But for 15 years solid, I was just roadieing and playing music. And so there's a really strong do-it-yourself network in the Northwest, in the Midwest, in the Northeast. In America, we have a pretty substantial network of musicians and artists working together that a lot of countries don't have, actually. And we're really lucky that way. But so I met all these bands, and I met them by sleeping on their couches or working for them or playing shows with them. And so when it came back to coming back to Seattle, and I wanted to come back to Seattle. I was like kind of tired of carrying suitcases for everyone. Eventually, you get really worn out, and I was having all these bands like retroactively stay on my couch where I had slept on their couches, and I had built this tiny rowboat when I lived in Florida. I met all these punks. It's a very long story, but we built a rowboat. It's here on the left, and I was taking bands out in one of my favorite places in Seattle called the Lake Washington Arboretum. It's a very beautiful place where power boats are not allowed. And it's one of the only boating areas in Seattle where power boats aren't allowed. So like baby ducks live there and baby turtles. It's amazing. And this is the springtime. You can see everything's in full flourish. These are some of your Midwest heroes, Harry and the Potters. And you may have heard of them. They took the library scene by storm a few years ago. And so I was taking all these friends out boating, and I was like, oh my God, I should start filming this. It's amazing. Like, we were just goofing off in the boat, but I was like, hey, before your show, why don't you grab your guitar and whatever else you can fit in these boats and like play a weird musical set in my dinghy. And we would post it on the internet, and people would come with their own floaty devices and watch a show on the water. And sometimes it would be really crazy, like a 6-person punk band, and we built like a floating drum set with a hydrophone, and we would record everything into a 16-track portable recorder, and it sounded like shit outside, but in the headphones it sounds really good. And so later when I put it on the internet, it sounds huge, like a huge punk band is playing in a tiny boat. So I'm gonna just play you like a minute of this just so you can experience this.
I'm Harry Potter.
And I'm Harry Potter.
We're Harry and the Potters. Accio boating with Clyde.
Welcome to the show. You're watching Boating with Clyde, and today's special guest is Harry and the Potters.
Thanks, Clyde.
Hi.
I'm Harry Potter.
I'm Harry Potter.
Where are you guys from?
Hogwarts.
Hogwarts.
Yeah.
Like originally, that's...
Well, no, that's where we live now. But
Okay,
originally from,
From a cupboard.
yeah, we lived in
Yeah.
a cupboard for 11 years,
Yeah.
10 years. Are you
Scared to walk through the hallways? Are you worried that the spiders run away? Are you petrified of being petrified? Are we going to have to save the school again? We've got to save Ginny Weasley from the basilisk. We've got to...
Anyway, this goes on for like 18 more minutes. But one of my favorite things about it is like that you take this band that's like really well rehearsed and ready to play any rock club with a good PA and a sound engineer, and you're like, what can you do in this tiny boat? Show me. And like, it's awkward, and they're like, how do I put this xylophone in this dinghy? And it's kind of like, it's just a passion project that started, and I still do it. It's like in season 6 right now. I started like 10 years ago, but some years I just can't. I'm on tour or something. So anyway, you can watch these all on the internet for free. It's at boatingwithclyde.com. There's like 50 episodes or something. But, and a lot of times there's puppet shows that go along with it. There's a whole world under the sea that happens. There's like a news anchor, Pinky Bottom Feeder, and he reports with his old news anchor friend, Old Salt, and they talk about like contemporary topics like the 1%, 99%, and all kinds of things, but like happening under the sea. So I was making this for fun, but also like I really wanted to get it into a gallery or a film festival, and like was just completely being denied, like every time consistently, because video art is a really weird planet, and if it doesn't look like the ceiling, blue light, and a weird sound effect, you're like not a video artist or something. I don't know, it's a complicated world. So I decided to try and like trick a gallery into letting me show these goofy guys. And I went ahead and I like built the Arboretum out of cardboard. And I put the boat, that's the boat I built and that we use for the show. And this is just like a promo photo. So usually like behind me, the show plays. And so I finally got a show in Seattle at a city gallery. And it ended up looking a little bit like this. I built a dock. It was like wheelchair accessible, and people could come in and watch the show on their lunch break. The space was open like Monday through Friday, 9 to 5. And through that was like my first art show that someone was actually like, yes, you can have an art show. Because I'm not like an art major, you know, I'm not an art history major, I'm not any of those things. I have like a BA in film stoner production. So, so from there, like this show, luckily enough, it traveled to 2 other places. In Seattle, we have this festival called Bumbershoot, which is the largest arts festival in the nation, for better or for worse, like in size. And they were like, hey, you can have your own tent. And I was like, that's cool, but I want to sneak 10 bands in. So we programmed 3 bands like for the first 2 days and 4 bands for the last day, and we snuck all these bands in to play this major rock festival that no local bands would ever get to play. And we would just sneak them in through the back gate. And like if they were carrying enough gear, the security just wouldn't know what to do. And they would just let them come in and be like, I don't know where we're playing. And anyway, so we had a really good time. Some people brought like video projections, and it was very moody in there. It was next to like a really large tent with like huge bands playing. So then the project like morphed. This like project kept going because it's just like what I like to do. I like to be on the boat in the water. And so like eventually people, it's like that thing where like if people believe in you, people believe in you. Or if grants give you money, then grants give you money. Like if you don't have grants, no one will give you a grant. But if you have grants, people are like, oh, they must be doing something cool. So after we had all these shows, the Henry Art Gallery at the University of Washington was doing a series of summertime events. And I was like, hey, I want $1,500. I'm gonna pay 15 bands $100 each to play in the Arboretum. And everyone's gonna get free canoes, and like, we're gonna paddle from performance to performance. And it was so chaotic and so fun. Like, I had to make a map of where the bands were supposed to be. And some of them just didn't end up some people ended up on like the Beaver Dam and stuff. I was like, oh, it's not the right place. But anyway, so about 400 people showed up in their own floaty devices and in the free canoes. And we went from dock to Beaver Dam to like, there's a freeway in the Arboretum that ends that like never was finished. It's called the Bridge to Nowhere. And it's a great, it just got torn down, but it was a great punk rock show spot. But yeah, so this is called the Friendship Trail. And if you ever want to do this, I got this idea from my friend in Anacortes, a musician named Carl Blau, and he would do this every year in the summertime. They would have a big music festival, but before the festival, when everyone was arriving, they would have the Friendship Trail, and bands would be set up all over town, and it would be a great way to show people your town. And you'd start in one place, and you'd all meet up. So originally, it was a walking tour of a small town, which you could totally do in Ann Arbor. And people have taken this idea and done it in other places, so highly recommend it. So I'm gonna skip over to some new stuff now. Are you guys still okay? Okay, cool, sweet. I'm gonna show you my like animation movie reel because I'm primarily an animator by sport or whatever, blood sport to pay my rent. So I'm just gonna play you my reel, and this is just like 20 years of like animation clips.
For me, looking for me, I'll be down there on the beach. If you're searching for me, just like a dream, I'll be somewhere out of reach. The fist in my pocket, the fist in my pocket, sinking into the sea. you're looking for me, if you're looking at me, I'll be down here on the beach. I remember, I forget, a family I called my friends, feeling high in western sky to be the bold against the shy, full of fire and midnight cries when you feel the same as me, but you don't know what it means. Takes a lot to be that dude and drive that long and sing that loud and beat so hard, touch so soft and feel so much and dream so bright, kiss that fast and wait so slow, never die, feel alone. My baby's sitting at the bar, she reaches out but I'm too far, he's been blown off in his car, torn his life all up too far, and I can't take it anymore, I can't take this anymore, I can't take it anymore. And if you're looking for me, if you're looking for me, I'll be down there on the beach. If you're searching for me, just like a dream, I'll be somewhere out of reach. The fist in the pocket, the fist in the pocket, sinking into the sea. If you're looking for me, if you're looking for me, I'll be somewhere out of reach.
So that's kind of what I've been up to. Yeah, I'm feeling really excited about that reel. It's like brand new and just it's fun to like be like, whoa, that was my life. So far, I did a lot of things. I'm gonna talk about a couple animations really quick. But this is a shot from an animation from 2010. I made a music video for this band called the Thermals. They're an indie rock band from Portland. And in Seattle, we're finally getting light rail, and it's taking 85 years. But this particular spot was, for 4 years, they were digging a hole in the middle of Seattle to put a tunnel and a station in, you know, in a neighborhood called Capitol Hill. And surrounding the hole they were digging was a giant red wall, which they divided up into sections of 40 feet and gave to artists to work. And I'm part of a group called Seattle Experimental Animation Team, SEAT. And we got the wall for 4 years. And everyone in SEAT was like, well, you're crazy. Why don't you try it first? And I was like, okay. I like chaos. I embrace chaos, so I'm in. And so I decided to paint the wall with chalkboard paint and animate with chalk on it for 6 months. And so one of the challenges of this wall is it like faces north-south, and so you can only animate on it when the sun is hitting on it, or you can only shoot when the sun's hitting on it. So from like 7 a.m. till noon, you can animate. And also it rains in Seattle all the time. So it was a really extreme, challenging shoot. I had like 60 helpers throughout 6 months. It was like, the budget was like $3,000 or something ridiculous. We just spent the money on food. And this is a still, and here's a couple other stills, and then I'll show you the video. But this was like a really exciting project for me. It was like my first like public art permission project. I do a lot of wheat pasting and things that aren't given permission, but this is one that had the check boxes and the insurance. And I'm gonna show you this video now, show you how it turned out.
not just a feeling you get, it's a feeling that you'll learn to protect in time. You're only free on the ground. When you fall, you never make a sound. It's not a feeling at all. It's not like any other feeling you call perfect. It's not like any other feeling you call perfect. When you're in motion, you own every speed, every touch and tone. It's not a feeling at all. It's not like any other feeling you call perfect. Perfect.
These are some behind the scenes footage that we shot on film just for fun when we were shooting. Good trick to get people to watch your credits. So that's the wall, and like they're digging a giant hole back there. I got a flyer in the mail at my house recently that said that light rail will be at my house in 2035. And I was like, ooh, might not be alive then. Or like, by the time light rail gets to where I live now, it's just felt like a joke of a flyer. Why would you send a flyer to people that said that? Anyway, I have a lot of questions about that. Dig into that when I get home. So I made like 20 or 30 music videos like that in a certain time period, like in 5 years. And I was like, I think it's time to make like a really big feature film. Like 20 music videos in a row is basically a feature film. So I was like, okay, I've made that much animation in my life. I think I can do it. And so my friend Chris Looney right there, he had just graduated from digital animation school. And he was like, I hate digital animation so much. Please let me help you make this film. So we decided to make a feature film in my bedroom, which was so messed up and insane. But for 3 years, like my bed's like right here. And then we had a huge door for a desk, and that's our multiplane, which is like an IKEA shelf with the wire baskets taken out. And then we put some glass in there, and the camera shoots down through it. And the camera talks to my laptop right there. And yeah, this is basically my bedroom and what it looked like for 3 years while we were making a feature film in it. And we had a bunch of interns helping us. An intern would work 1 day a week for 5 hours for free, and we would feed them. It was pretty fun. This is one of our interns. She was great. She made all of the foliage and plant life for the film, basically. She was really good at it, so we just set her to work for 1.5 years. She was cool. But I'll show you the trailer, yeah. And Heidi talked a little bit about it in the intro, but it's about growing up with my mom, who's schizophrenic, and like feeling, like weird and queer as a kid, and but not like being able to identify it because it was pre-internet. I grew up in San Diego. It's like a military town, kind of a bogus place. But yeah, this is the trailer. Blech. How do I tell the story of my mother gone crazy, last seen living in the woods outside of Branson, Missouri? I try to write it down, I cannot recollect the order of the situations, what came to pass and what happened next. So I kick it back to 12 when I was a smaller kid, with some pigtails and some candy and a box of bunny rabbits, living in a shitty surfing shack in Del Mar, California, dumpstering boxes from Circle K so I could build a fort. So I tell the story of my mother gone crazy. So we decided to take the film. Okay, if you're not part of the filmmaking world, you might not know too much about this, but you might understand it like in a systemic way. In the world, there are only certain voices that are allowed to be heard, like basically, right? We all pretty much understand that. We probably know who they are, in America at least. And film festivals like function in both like highlighting that problem and like keeping that problem going. In like that most film festivals, you know, the juries are mostly white men, and like a lot of the films, most of the directors, like I think Sundance this year had 30% women jury, which was like a huge deal. It was like insane that like 30% of the jurors were women. So I'm gonna press play while I show you this. This is a slideshow from our 2-month tour, which I'm gonna talk about right now. So basically, instead of waiting for like someone to give us permission to show this film at festivals, you know, we kind of like weighed our options, and we decided that we would just premiere it locally in Seattle at the Seattle Queer Film Festival. They had already helped us with our fiscal sponsorship, and we decided these are my bandmates. We decided to just book the film like a band, like we would already do. Like we booked our band playing a show with a film behind it. And so we called up all of our friends. We were like, hey, we're trying to book this 2-month tour across all of North America, a bit of Canada as well, and we want to play live music in front of a film. And we ended up playing in like the wildest places. We played in like dank punk clubs and basements. We played in very fancy museums. We also had a lot of really good adventures. Like every day we went to Willie Nelson's golf course. That was a real highlight. We met Wayne White, who's one of our heroes. And yeah, we played in all of these crazy places. And it was like, if we had waited for a film festival to like say yes, we'd still be waiting. Because the film is not like your average film. It's like a weird stop motion animated handmade film about a transgendered teenager and their crazy mom. Like, it's not like the story that like Hollywood's selling. I mean, they're trying to sell that story, but like in a very condensed way, separately. And so that's just like a very brief look at that insane project that has taken up like the last 5 years of my life. And I have DVDs of it if you guys want to get one. They'll be at the other place. But I'm gonna keep going. Are you guys okay still? Okay, sweet. You're doing really good. All I see is darkness. It's great. So I think you're probably starting to see that like all of my life is like, it's all wound together. Like touring is wound up with film, is wound up with music. They're all kind of intertwined. Like the people who played on Boating with Clyde set up shows for us. Like we had really crazy experiences. Like Kelly Deal from the Breeders set us up a show, and it was our roadie. And we were like, "What the fuck? Kelly Deal is our roadie today." She was like, "Where can I put your guitar cases?" And we were like, "We're dead." Okay. Anyway, so when I came back to town after the really extreme tour, we did 60 shows in 64 days in North America. Then we went to England and did like a two-week tour. Then we went to Northern Europe and did like a freezing cold tour. And then we went to Japan. And then we played at Paul Allen's music festival. Like the guy from Microsoft has a music festival in Seattle. And we played for like 12 people. It was awesome. Got like $7,000. It's incredible. Anyway, RIP. But so I got back and I got asked to make a comic for The Stranger, the local newspaper. And I wanted to make a comic called Merch and Destroy about the extremely horrible parts of tour and the hilarious parts that you laugh about later, but you're like, oh, this is really, really hard right at this very moment. So I did a series of comics. I'll just flip through them. This is Where You Sleep. This was based on a house in Leeds, England. This was based in a club in Dublin. England is a little bit harsh to tour. It's great to tour the UK because they love music and they'll buy your records, but the sleeping situations, the punk situation is pretty harsh. So this is like your average place where you spend 5 hours of your day. So if you haven't been on tour before, you wake up somewhere like this, and you're like, oh my God, let's get out of here. Please get us out of here. You find some coffee. You drive from anywhere between like 2 and 10 hours in a car, and then you get here. And like some guy is like, yeah, just go ahead and like hang out back here. Sound guy's not here yet. You know, enjoy. And you're like, man, oh, okay, cool, suck it up. And then this is a joke about a band called Sun O that I really like, and they're a drone band, and my bandmate Steve plays in this band, and I made a little fog machine comic for him because they filled the room with fog. But also it's a joke about playing shows and then like someone turns on the fog machine and you're like, I really, really didn't ask for that, and now the whole room is full of this fake fog that I'm breathing in all night long. So I made this comic, and for like a couple of years I've been toiling in my mind with this idea of Merch and Destroy. And I had been trying to pitch this idea to a museum that I would build a life-size tour van out of cardboard because of my last cardboard experience making the Boating with Clyde Arboretum. I really like building stuff with cardboard. It's free. It's like really strong, lasts a long time. So I was like, I want to build a life-size tour van out of cardboard with rock and roll gear and amps, and I want to make a green room that people have to hang out in. And luckily, my friend Ben got fired from Paul Allen's gallery and got hired at a place called Bellevue Arts Museum, which is a craft museum in the same neighborhood as Microsoft. And it's in a mall. It's a very weird museum, like literally across from the Red Robin and the Nordstroms. And but it's a cool place. They're doing a lot of really cool and risky stuff, and they don't care. Bellevue is traditionally populated by kind of like very rich octogenarians who are pretty conservative. Not to say that all octogenarians are conservative at all, but this particular place is. So it's funny that this show ended up here. I'll get to that later. But so I was able to build this giant tour van. This is an installation shot. I built it outside of the space in panels, and then because it wouldn't fit inside the building, like it was the show's on the 3rd floor and we couldn't get it up we couldn't get it out of the building it was being built in or into the building it was going to. So it's built in 6 panels, like each wall and the floor and the roof are panels. And then all the amps and guitar cases are their own thing. And then back there, that black wall is hiding the green room, which we'll get to. So this is, when it was all installed, it kind of looks like this. So you come in there and you're like, whoa, there's a car. It's made out of cardboard. Children love it. They want to climb into it, and desperately, they're not allowed to. It's got, everything a kind of tour van has. Mixtapes on the dash, vehicle registration, an old atlas, like a CD disc book, a lot of beer cans. There's like a lot of almonds on the floor. But everything's made out of cardboard. This guitar. We put wood paneling in it, just like to class it up a little bit. Those are the almonds. That was the funnest part. I was waiting till the very end to make the almonds. I was like, the van will be done when the almonds are done. Backpack. We had a Creative Records, and we asked a few of our friends to draw some record designs for us. This is done by a painter named Robert Hargrave. He's an amazing neighbor of mine who's a painter. This is my friend Tyson. He lives up in Ottawa, and he came by and helped out for a day and drew his fantasy album, his alter ego. So yeah, this is what it kind of looked like. We had, fun making bumper stickers, voting with Clyde bumper sticker. It's Clyde Jr. It's a Ford. I had a really funny intern who was 18. He's a young trans man, and he loved Fords. He was like, I'd rather push a Ford than drive a Chevy or something. I was like, oh God, this is not, we have to talk about this later. Don't buy a Ford, Max, but he always had Ford shirts on. And we had a really good time making these bugs for the grill. This is based on a real photo of a real bug from one of our friends killed. Oh, something just happened. Oh, my first PowerPoint faux pas. Huh, that's cool. We'll get back to it. We're almost there. How embarrassing. It's probably because it's probably time to give the dick warning. Okay, so there will be some drawn penises in the next portion of this show. Just, if you're faint of heart, this is a good time to, they're not that bad or anything. They're not scary or weird. They're just, this is the green room that we built, that people can hang out in. And it has had a lot of very mixed reactions at the Bellevue Arts Museum. People are like horrified of it. And like, I just wanted to build it because I wanted to like show the world what like musicians and artists have to live with. Like, this is like misogyny and patriarchy. Like, that's it, that's the bottom line. Some like chips, a lot of like really offensive stuff, and you're just like, this is just like normal for me. Like, I just hang out in these rooms all the time with like dicks saying stuff to me. It's pretty weird. Like, once you start to break it down, you're like, okay, cool. We got hummus platter, some celery, and some dry broccoli and dry carrots, some pita chips. But yeah, recently on Valentine's Day, so speaking of like offensive things, the Bellevue Arts Museum, they're really going for it. They kind of are like reimagining their museum. The museum was kind of in decline for many years. And so they posted this from the show, and I was like, whoa, they are going for it. Like, they don't give a fuck about their audience. Like, I would be really scared to post this if I ran a museum. I like Whitney Laurel at the bottom. She was like going hard. And I was like, whoa, I didn't even draw this. Like, my intern Max drew it. He's a teenager. But we had some really good conversations on Instagram. My favorite one is Whitney Landerson's tag, Eyes Wide Shut. I was like, I don't know if she has seen that film, but it's an interesting tag to choose for this when you're really offended by it. Like the eggplants too. Anyway, yeah, and so, I mean, it's an interesting time to be a trans and queer artist working in the world. Like, you make things and put them out there, and it, like, instantly you will see homophobia and transphobia. Like, it's very fast now on social media. Like, when YouTube started, we saw it really quickly in comments. Like, no matter what the video was, someone would be like, faggot, and you were like, okay, cool, this is really not the platform for homophobia or whatever. But so it's been interesting to like watch this. Like, it feels a little bit like a weird experiment with the museum, but it's cool. I trust them, and so that's what I just spent my summer doing, offending people, and I'm working into a new project that's gonna kind of take me through the next like 5 years, and it's called Our Forbidden Country, and it's gonna be a new stop-motion feature film. But I worked up to it by writing a record for my band. My band's called Your Heartbreaks. I play in 2 bands. One of them's called Your Heartbreaks, and for the last like 3 years, just, you know, when I have various minutes of spare time, I've been reading books about gay culture before AIDS. It's just been a topic that's been coming up, and I'm interested in it because like there's kind of a new generation of people, and there was a huge loss of artists and musicians due to AIDS. And so I've been reading all of these works, and I wrote a whole record about it based on these writings of people I really admire. And so I've been working on these posters to put up around town. I'm gonna like screen print these and put them up during Pride. And this is just some lyrics, but I'll just show you a music video from the new record. We went out and shot it on Vashon Island, which is a really beautiful island off the coast of Seattle. And it's starring a lot of great Seattle queer folks, and shot by a kind of up-and-coming amazing director named Wes Hurley. And if you can remember this, you should look up a film called Little Potato later. It's about his journey from Russia, moving here as a kid, and coming out. And yeah, I can tell you that info later too. But so he shot this video, and it was fun to work with him and work with the whole queer crew, and just like think about the past and the like huge loss that like we've had due to AIDS, and like think about what community means now, and yeah, you know, so food for thought.
Before the plague, before the rage, before the body count, angel-faced young men of summer gathered on these shores. Women loving, women in sunlight, a salty kiss on sandy skin, lovers' limbs entwined. Past the breakers, sick with hunger, our forbidden country. Past the benches built for lovers, our forbidden country. Our forbidden country. Kept it like a secret till you could keep it no more. Found love in a subway station, pressed against the bathroom door. Dare to let your glances linger longer than before. A city park, the darkest corner, kneeling on the forest floor. Past the benches built for lovers, our forbidden country. Past the breakers, sick with hunger, our forbidden country. Our forbidden country.
Once a lover, once a fighter, once a fierce, unruly queen, now carried through the streets, her mortal body's but a dream. No liberation, liberation without memory, buried deep in our endurance, our collective fury. Past the front doors to the alleys of our forbidden country, past the marchers' angry rallies of our forbidden country, past the benches built for lovers, our forbidden country, past the breakers sick with hunger, our forbidden country, our forbidden country. So, yeah, thanks. It was really crazy to shoot that video. We had to climb up like this very tiny mountain on the island in drag, and Ade was like, the woman in the dress was like, this is the most makeup I've ever worn in my entire life. And she was like hiking up, and her wig was like huge and getting stuck in trees. It was a very intense shoot, but it was really fun. That's about it. That's all we got for you. But I hope you enjoyed yourselves, and thanks for having me. It's been a real pleasure. Thanks for bearing with my first PowerPoint, and thanks to Stamps. Okay, maybe see you at the Q&A in the small room. Cool.